And welcome to this week 15. I can't believe we've made it. Well, I can believe we've made it this far, but still, power and possibility, section 4, from pain to purpose and becoming a change maker. Now, I'm a bit on the word change maker and thought leader and all of those bingo buzzwords, but this week we had, sorry, I nearly knocked my tea over. We're going to be diving into owning your narrative and rewriting the story they told you about yourself. Because come on, let's face it, how many of us are living a lie that we kind of know on a deep soul level, or we know on a deep soul level, and we kind of have some idea about it. And we're going to get into how we know as we move on. And today is the 6th of November. So if there's anything that I'm sharing in here that you feel is not factually correct, and you're watching this in 2026, then you're a year behind because we evolve very quickly. So let's get cracking. So owning your narrative, rewriting the story they told you about yourself. Now we've all got one of these stories. And that I was told I'd make a really great librarian, or that I would always be a waitress, just like my mum was told she'd only ever be a shop girl. And I would just put it out there, I'd be the worst librarian ever. Not only would I just close the door so nobody could interrupt me while I'm reading, but that would be why I'd be a very bad librarian. I might know a lot about the books, but I wouldn't want anybody around there interrupting my reading. You just don't do that. So again, but it's how do we recognize what it is that other people are telling us about ourselves? What do we own and what do we rewrite? Because a lot of the things that people think about us or tell us about ourselves, they don't serve us. They're not about us. They're more about the other person. And why self-authorship is the foundation of empowerment and freedom. And when I mean self-authorship, I mean when we're actually writing our books, when we're writing our stories out, whether we're going to publish them or whether we're just writing them for ourselves or our family. When we start writing down the things that we believe and the things that we hold dear, it triggers in the brain what it is that we're thinking about. So we'll get onto that, and I go deeper into it with my narrative coaching sessions. But again, when we want to really get present to who we are, we start writing. Because photos don't really help that much. We take measurements if we're wanting to lose weight, we get an idea that way. So again, but self-authorship is, obviously, I'm biased, I'm a writer. But the healing that comes from reclaiming your voice and your truth, we're going to dive into that as well today. And also how to turn your pain into purpose and leadership. Transforming old narratives of limitation into legacies of leadership. You can tell I'm a writer, I love alliteration. And know who you truly are and love yourself. Because knowing who you are and loving yourself are very different, because there are probably going to be some things we don't really like about ourselves. So we're going to really dive into that this week. So I nearly went off on the tangent on the last slide, how to reclaim authorship of your life and identity. Well, first of all, it's like, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are away from everybody else? Do you know what it is that has been said about you that actually is true, that you believe to be true? Now, to you, again, this series is based on my first book, Friday Bridge. And if you've read that book, thank you so much. Please do write a review. And if you haven't, why have you not? We are at week 15 already. And again, when you're writing these books, you're like, you know what? One of the reasons I wrote that book was because I used to go raving, and I knew that I was going to be very successful. But I also knew that some of the people that I went raving with were really quite spiteful. I also knew some of the people I went to school with were really quite spiteful. And because they're everywhere. And it's not that they're bad for that. It's just something that they have grown up being modeled to them, or that they have chosen or unconsciously chosen how to be. So when I wrote Friday Bridge, it was like, this is who I am. And it doesn't matter what anyone that you meet who thinks they know me says about me, this is who I am. And that is the power of writing your own book. Well, like I said, whether you publish that for the whole world because there is something really purposeful and of service for others in your story, or whether it's a story that um, you have written for you to know who you are, but also that your nieces and nephews, your children or your cousins or the other members of the family that probably hear some members of the family bitching and backstabbing about you, but you've now got it on record as to who you are. And when you're writing that book, you will find yourself writing things down. You go, oh, yeah, that is who I am. Do I like that about myself? Do I like that I did that? Can I forgive myself on that? Do I need to forgive myself? Am I being unnecessarily unkind to myself? Again, it really gets you present to some of the things that, some of the deeper buried emotions and thoughts. It also helps you align your value system and your thinking, because sometimes what you think about one aspect of yourself and of others, when you apply that to a different aspect of society, same meat, different gravy, or if you're vegan, same chickpeas, different salsa. When you write those things down, there's a mismatch. And then you get the opportunity to go, well, if I think that about that, but I think that about that, but they are basically the same situation, why do I have a difference of values or belief around them? And then what we can do is we break those down. And that's how authorship and writing your story helps you crack the nut, for want of a better phrase, of who you are. And when you do that, it can be quite painful. It can be quite liberating. And it's always like, there's always that, now I know. And I can get to choose it or I can let it go. Because a lot of the time, the stuff that we believe about certain things, it's a generational thing, or it's something from our parents, or it's from an area of the world that we grew up in, or the neighborhood that we up in. Or they're things that we borrowed in moments in high school or within a sports club just to fit in at some point in our life. It's like why people start smoking and what start drinking. Why did you start smoking? Oh, well, I wanted to impress the girls at school. Okay, well, how old were you? Oh, I was 14. Okay, so your 14-year-old is still making the decision as a 56-year-old whether you should be smoking or not. Again, it's about looking at those kind of things, because when you start to consciously unlearn everything, you start to go, oh yeah, my 14-year-old self is making decisions and I'm a grown-ass man. Or my insecure teenage self, as young girls, starting periods, blossoming our boobies, and that subconscious, sorry, not sub that self-conscious version of ourselves will be making judgments on our bodies as it evolves throughout our life, unless we consciously unlearn those belief systems that you have to be thin to be pretty, or you have to be, I don't know, you have to be suited and booted to be professional, or you have to have long hair if you're a girl, or, like one of the things that we're seeing, and I mentioned in one of my previous sessions, if you want to fit in and you're a person of color, you actually have to have, straight hair, or if you're Chinese, then you have to have an English name, and all of these things, these belief systems that have been indoctrinated into us, but also into our parents. Again, it's about when we consciously unlearn who we are, we get present to who our parents are and some of the unconscious learnings that they've had. And when we do the work, we start to see little shifts in the people around us. And when we understand that where all of these things are, because let's look at, at our parents. What was the world like when they were growing up? What was the world like? What was going on in the world? Were there wars going on? Were there, when we look at what kind of literature was around, what kind of film was around, That was, you have your place in society and you'll never get to higher than that. In parts of India, well, in India, it's changing now, but they've always had a caste system. And, the lower the caste, that would be your job for the rest of your life. But now we're seeing a change, and people of the lower castes are getting jobs that, the more I was gonna say premier, the higher castes have been allowed to do. Because if you were a certain caste, you weren't allowed to manage people. You weren't allowed to have your own business. You weren't allowed to go to university. These things, you couldn't sully the environment. And again, that may not be as obvious in other societies, but it's relevant all the same. So have these narratives that you tell yourself, have they come from your parents? Was your mother someone who was always critiquing the way that you looked? Was your dad always telling you that you needed to be an engineer or a footballer or a welder to be a real man? But you don't want to do that. You want to be a nurse. You want to go into caring for people, because you watched your grandparents old and frail and you wanted to take care of them. Again, look at where your narratives are coming from. Um, and also ask yourself when you're going through this process, why are you allowing other people's opinions of you to matter and to stop you and hold you back? Now, this is something that I've been asking myself recently because, it's no secret. You can see from yourself that I've gained a few pounds. Menopause is really kicking my ass, and having an injury, which saw me having to go to the chiropractor quite a lot and being unable to do my training. I've gained a few pounds, and I was like, well, I don't really want to make that video. I've got a bit of a double chin, or I don't want to make that video. Like, I look really tired, or, I'm in a lot of pain. I can't make that video, or I haven't got that background, or, and these are all the things that those of us who are in business and those of us who show up, we have to deal with. We have to let go of them, because if we want our businesses to be successful, we just have to shut down that voice and show up. I've got some videos that I need to record, and it's like, well, my ad team, they want me to make all these videos. I'm like, but writing a book's not that fast. I'm just someone sat there typing. I'm not making a beautiful cake. I'm not, in a film studio making films, or a photography studio. I'm not putting clothing on models. I'm sat there at a laptop writing. It's not riveting stuff, people. What I'm writing is, but sitting there, filming me, sit at a laptop writing, that's not, I mean, I'm not a videographer, so, I know it's down to them to make it exciting. But again, it's like, because that's not how my brain works. So I've had to spend time looking at social media and how are other business people, showing up, and how are they promoting, their writing services, or how are they promoting that. And I hate social media. Can't stand it. It's just like, oh my God, there's so much crap on social media. And, some of the things that I'm seeing, I'm like, how did that post get all that interest? Absolute terrible stuff. But again, that's not my generation. I'm not all about, I don't want to put my private life all the way out there. You see what you see about me on social media, and that's about it. And if you're not following me on social media, maybe you should. You'll see pictures of my dog, pictures of sunsets. You'll see the odd book or two. I don't know what I'm doing on social media, but I'm learning. Again, I don't know things about myself, but I'm learning. But again, when I hear these things about myself, or I have these beliefs, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, or, they're much better at it than I am. These are just stories we tell ourselves. We're capable of learning anything we wish to. And again, when we use those as an analogy, when we have other people telling us this is who you are, I was told recently that I come across as passive aggressive. I was like, why? And when the example was shared with me, I was like, yeah, that's not who I am. I get that you work with lots and lots of people, and there might be people in your organization that will say certain things to you. So, for example, to give you the example, I was in a training, and we were asked to give feedback, and there wasn't enough time for some of us to share. So I was like, okay, well, I'll share afterwards because we've run out of time. That was me. I was just being factually incorrect. I'll share afterwards because there's not enough time. But it came across to this other person that I was being passive aggressive. I was like, no, why would I do that? Again, it's because some of the people that you might be surrounding yourself with might actually behave like that, or it might be something that you are subconsciously being like. That's something that you would say, or an older version of you would say, with a bit of a bit of a sting in the tail. Not me. I will say it, and it's just it. I'm just delivering. Yeah, I will share later. We've run out of time. I'm not going to hold up things, and we've got time to stick to. Um, so again, reclaiming your narrative is the foundation of empowerment. So when I responded and I said, no, that's not who I am, and like I return that to you, return to sender. You've heard me say this a number of times. When I know who I am, nothing that anyone says to me, if I don't believe it to be true about myself, I'm like, well, that's not me. Doesn't bother me. If someone said something to me that deeply upset me, and be like, okay, well, why has this deeply upset me? Okay, what is it about this that upset me? Was it what the person said? Was it the fact that this is a very special person who has said something to me that is so off the mark that I'm like, oh my God, this person doesn't really know me? Or is this something that I've been feeling about myself? And what this person has said has really triggered me, because I know that that's a part of myself that needs healing. And this is why when we listen to feedback from others, or we understand what their narratives of us are, and we go, yes, that is who I'm being, and you can either apologize for it or you can be proud of it. Yeah, this is who I'm being. And I don't care that I'm being this way. It could be that, I'm absolutely so happy to be somebody who triggers people and offends people, because I know that being offended is a privilege. When people take offense to something, it means that, they are in a privileged situation, that they're not worrying about really serious health matters, or, war happening outside their door, or, the fact that they're about to lose their home. If people have got the time to be offended by things that other people say, then one, it shows that they're immature because they haven't understood that the world is full of people that are very, very different. But it's also a sign that they've got not much going on in their life, that they can choose to be offended by other things. That's just the way it is. And if you come back to dawnbates.com/merch in a few weeks, you'll see all the mugs, and one of them will actually says, I come with a trigger warning, and another mug will say, prepare to be offended. So, there is a mug from DBI that's coming very soon. But again, when we understand who we are, and we understand that we are the most important person in our life, nothing really. I mean, there are some of us, yeah, actually, that's a really nasty thing for that person to say. Do I want to keep them in my life? Is it a recurring pattern? And this is why it's so important to spend time by yourself. It's no secret to those who know about me, or know of me, that I've spent a number of years traveling the world by myself. And I had such a great time. I learned so much about myself. I learned what music I liked. I learned what food I liked. I learned that I absolutely love staying in bed and reading all day. I mean, I already knew it, but I knew it on a new profound level. I knew that I didn't want, I mean, I'm back in Britain at the moment. At the moment, I'll repeat that, at the moment. We'll see how it goes. But I know that there are certain things that are missing in my life that I want back. I miss being the person. I miss speaking Spanish. I miss speaking Arabic. I miss speaking Portuguese. I miss the hot tropical waters, and just walking on the beach. I miss being in um, deck shorts and bikinis and sarongs all the time, and eating fresh food, and knowing that you can just walk along the street and get share the stuff that's growing in your garden with the next door neighbor, because who's got different things growing in their garden. They might even have chickens. I miss the individual shops. I don't like all of this big huge corporate takeover that we're seeing in so many countries and cities and towns around the world. I love the village life. I love the quiet. I love time by myself. I love going out for dinner by myself. I discovered new foods. And again, it's like when we spend that time alone, we learn about ourselves. I've learned that, you know what, I didn't actually really like that music. I don't know why I listened to it. You know what? I really like that music and it's really cheesy and I like singing it. And I don't care if I get the words wrong, I'm still going to enjoy it. You learn so much about yourself. And the thing is, not a lot of us spend enough time by ourselves. You know, not a lot of people take themselves out on dates by themselves. How can you expect someone else to date you if you don't know how to date yourself? How do you, how are you going to know who brings you joy when you don't know how to bring yourself joy? And you know, it's these moments of understanding who we are so that when we get into a relationship or we have a friendship, we don't get lost in their lifestyle, their wants, their likes, their dislikes, their opinions. Because again, one of the things that I understood was, you know, I really do hate bullies. And I really do realize that I am very smart. I'm very intelligent, and I'm also somebody who believes that if we know something, then we have a duty and a responsibility to share it with the appropriate people. And it's one of the reasons why I write the kind of books that I do, because when I write the books and I share the knowledge that I'm learning, not only does it clear space in my head for me to learn even more, but it also means that I can read this high level theory and political stuff, and sometimes it's challenging and I do need to get other people to help me to understand it, because I might understand the individual words, put them in a sentence and I'm still with it, but put it in a paragraph and you've totally lost me. You know, the studying for a PhD is not easy. There's a lot of things to process, and when your brain is a bit menopausal, it gets a little bit difficult. um but again, when you understand that this is why I am the way I am, and I choose that wholly and completely, but I also don't want this part of who I am. I want to change this part of who I am, or I'd like to develop this side of myself. When you're with people who are not your people, and while you're allowing their narratives to be passed upon you, you're giving up a piece of yourself every single time you allow someone to chip away at who you truly are. And they might not be doing it in a nasty way. They may not be doing it in a conscious way. They might just be like, oh, come and do this. Yeah, let's go and do this, or let's go and see this film, or let's listen to this music. And if you don't really like it, but you're doing it anyway just to make them happy, how much of yourself are you losing by being the one that gives up or gives away your power, or is the one that ends up always listening to their thing, or always eating the food they want to eat, or always going to the place that they want to go to? Because this is what happens a lot in relationships, that there's always one person in that relationship that ends up giving up a lot of who they are. And people go, oh, but you've changed. It's like, you probably have, and maybe you wanted to change. And that's not saying changing for the other person is a good or a bad thing. That person might be the inspiration you need to become a better person. But own who you are first and foremost, because when that person leaves for whatever reason and you're left behind, or you're then on your own, and it's not who you truly want to be, and you have borrowed who they are and worn it as an outfit, you then start to unravel, and then you start to feel a bit lost. And then we get what we call imposter syndrome. But we also get imposter syndrome a lot of the time when we want to do something and we're enjoying something, but we don't feel that we're good enough. And the reason why we don't feel that we're good enough is because we borrowed and believed all the things and negative things that other people have told us, or you shouldn't be there, you're really good at this, so you should be over there. It doesn't matter whether you're a striker in football and you like being a midfielder, or whether you, I mean, I don't know much about cricket, so I'm not going to use that as an analogy. I was going to say a bowler and a batsman, but I think they both do. I think when they switch over, I think they both do that. I don't watch cricket. It's not really a sport. Um, well, come on, let's be honest. You know, half of the people just standing around in the sunshine while two of them have just done the action. It's not really a team sport, is it? It's more, swimming's more of a team sport. It's you and your ego. But anyway, when the imposter syndrome comes out and it's like, I really want to do this. I really want to be here, but I don't feel that I belong here. When we hear that I don't feel that I belong here, we have the opportunity to go, why do I not feel that I belong here? Is that my narrative? Is that me saying I don't belong here? Or is it all the doubts that other people have put into my head? Is it all the things that people told me that I should be, but I don't want to be? Or is it that I don't really want to be here? I want to be over there. Or I'm in the audience, but I want to be on the stage. Or I'm on the stage and I just want to hide in the audience. Like, for example, when I got married, you'll read about it in Friday Bridge. When I got married and we had the wedding in Egypt, um, my mother-in-law put two thrones on the stage, like proper. Those of you who saw Posh and Bex's wedding, yeah, just like that. But this was before Posh and Bex's wedding. It's very Arabic. And all my friends were on one table, and there was so many people at this wedding. I had no idea who they were. Not even my now ex-husband knew who half these people were. Um, and I was like, why am I on the stage? I don't want to be on here. I want to go sit with my friends. But I was the bride, so obviously I had to sit on the stage and have everyone look at me when I really didn't want them to. I find these sessions that I do every week, I find these, slightly intimidating because I'm a writer. I prefer to be on radio. I prefer to be on podcasts. Yeah, I'm filming myself talking to myself. I mean, I know those of you who are watching it, I know that you're listening, and I'm doing this for a reason. I want to be of service to people. And I know my VA is in the background. Thank you, Dai. And there are people that show up to these events, and we sometimes have the Q&A, sometimes we don't. But this took me a while to get used to. I'm a writer. I spend my time in books. I like my privacy. I like reading and writing. And when I get introduced to go on stages and speak at events, and people read out my introduction, I'm like, wow, that sounds pretty impressive. And I'm like, oh, that's me. But we sometimes haven't synced who we are with what we've achieved, because what we do, like a friend of mine was a really successful DJ, and he's like, yeah, I just feel like I'm still in my bedroom spinning the decks. He goes, that's all I want to do. I just want to play music. um and to him, he was just like, yeah, I've got all these big gigs and he gets paid all this money, but for him, it's just like, it's about him and the decks, it's about him and the vinyl, and the audiences vibing off each other. But he's not bothered about the fluff and the fame or anything like that. And we were having a conversation about it once, like, are we suffering from imposter syndrome? And it's like, no, we're just humble people. Because imagine if we started to believe in all the hype, and we started to believe in all the vanity metrics and all of that, and we then lost it all. What would that do to our ego? So for us, it's always good to remain humble. And that is something that we've both really dived into, because knowing what makes us happy, like me reading and writing makes me happy. Just sitting quietly listening to music while I'm cuddling my dog, or background music while I'm reading, or in the pool swimming. I can't listen to music while I'm swimming. I'd start swimming and choke on the water. But again, it's like, when we know what makes us fundamentally happy, that is what then drives us, and then that is what makes us the success that we are, because it's that happiness and that joy that taps into that vibrational frequency that then radiates out. Now, I love sharing my inner gig. I love sharing all this knowledge that I've learned. And I love helping people, which is why I show up here. And I love helping people achieve and believe in themselves. Hence why I do this narrative coaching, why I help people write their books. I love helping dreams come true. We had Lara's book launch at the end of last month, and she sent me a lovely, it made me cry. She's like, "You've just made my dream come true." And to help to know, sorry, I'm getting a lot emotional, to know that I've helped someone's dream come true, that's huge. That's just such a joy, and that is worth more than any of the Nibby awards or any of these big literary awards. I mean, the cash would be great, but and it would mean that I'd sell more books. But again, it's looking at when the people that you've helped write a book and that you've helped start a business, and or you've helped save their marriage, or like one lady said to me one day, I read your book Moana, um, and it was really painful to read because my daughter had just been through what Moana had been through. Um, but if I hadn't have read your book, I would never have known what it was like to have been raped, and I would never have been able to relate to my daughter. That feedback from just that one woman was worth more to me than so much more than anything else, because the book did what it was there to do. It was there to help someone understand what it's like to go through something like that. But it was also, if it helps one person, and that's what I always do. I always bring it back. If my story, or so I can help someone else tell their story, if that helps just one person, then we've done our job. The thing is, we need to get that story out to more and more people. But what we're finding is that when people are triggered by their own narrative because they can't identify with it, they're like, well, I can't read that, or I can't be seen to be reading that, or I can't read that because I might get, well, how do we know what might happen unless we do it? Like, if I can't start a business because, I might not succeed. Well, you're not going to succeed if you don't start. Yeah, I can't write a book because other people might not like me, or they might not like what I've written. Well, not for them to like. If they love you, they love you. And if they don't like what you've written, that's not about you. That's about them. Something that you have written has triggered them, and that's for them to resolve for themselves. As when you are reading your own narratives, or you're feeling the imposter syndrome. One lady said to me, "I've really wanted you to help me write my book for a long time." 10 years she's been following me. And she's finally reached out, "Will you help me write my book?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why is it taking you 10 years?" She goes, "Because I didn't think you'd want to talk to me. You're really successful and you've got all these books and you've traveled the world." I was like, "Yeah, but I'm a reader. Like, if I like your book and it's really good and I can see benefit for it, and I can help you, then yes, these are the prices and let's get on with it." And again, people don't just think that they are less than, they think that lots of people are more than they are. And they don't allow themselves to take those opportunities to approach those people. And that's really sad, because we are all people. We are all human beings. Like, we all go to the toilet. We all have to do that, and we all have to have a shower. Otherwise, we'll all stink up the place. And again, it's about all of these. We've been told that authors or business people or really successful people are, they think that they're above other people, or people that have got lots of money think they're better than other people. Who made that rule? Who told you that? Was it your parents? What was their insecurity? Did they have a money scarcity problem? Did they grow up in the war where there was rationings? Did they grow up in a part of the world that was very poor monetary wise? And they've come to a different country where there's a lot more wealth, and now that all of that wealth that they wanted to be part of is making them feel ashamed of their own family back home. That happens a lot. And it's like, but have we ever considered that when I was traveling around the world, one of the things that I learned, and I regularly remind people of this, is, oh, they're a poor country. I'm like, yeah, but they're the richest people in the world. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, They might not have a lot of money, but what they have is family. They have community. They have laughter. They have, generations of family living together. They have healthy food. They can go out into their garden and they can, pick the tomatoes and the chilies and the vegetables and the salads and the fruits off the trees. Some of the communities that I saw when I was out in Brazil didn't even have electricity. And these people, we would be belly laughing at night, sat around a fire, eating food that Auntie had made. And I would be sat with four generations of the same family. And from the great grandchildren to the great grandfather, they would be so close. And that money can't buy that. Job titles can't buy that. Like prestige and Instagram followers can't buy that. That is inherent to the lifestyle that you choose. And if, like me, you don't have a supportive family, you look for that in other ways. You find and you build your own family. But the other thing is when people look at others, for their, their job titles and they think that they're not good enough, but they've got a family backing them. People like me go, well, that would be really nice. I see sisters together, you know, having the best of friendship. I don't have a relationship with my sister, and the more successful I become, the less I have a relationship with my family. And that's sad, but that's a reality. And I had to choose, do I want to be me and all of me, or do I want to have that family? Because that family wasn't supportive of who I am. They didn't like who I was. And if you read the first chapter in Owning Our Ovaries, which is due out the end of this month on November 25th, you'll read about how my mother used to tell me, I may love you, but I don't like you very much. Imagine growing up with that going around in your head. Or people don't like me. They only like me because I'm so and so's partner, or I'm so and so's friends, or because I'm a writer, or because that was a narrative that was going around and around in my head for a very long time. And I had to do the work. I had to do the deep dive and have the dark nights of the soul. Do I like me? And is that enough? And that's when we redefine the narrative of who we are. And we go, these are the stories that shaped me. Like my mum used to also tell us, people like us don't live in Elm, because Elm had got a lot of bigger houses and there was a lot more money there. And, we were more farmer, we were farmers. But now the village I grew up in, Friday Bridge, it's got a lot of bigger houses and, mum lives there. There we go. But again, it's about how we rewrite those things that my parents used to say to me. How did I rewrite them? How did I help other people rewrite their own narratives? Well, it depends on the individual. Some of you might want to use a vision board. Some of you will deep dive into journaling. Some of you will have hypnosis or therapy, or, you'll do, you'll make music, or you'll just dive it deep into something that's really working for you. But it's always so important for us to understand that we are the most important people in our life. And even as a mother of two young men, I am still the most important person in my life above them, because when I honor myself, I teach them how to honor me, but I also teach them how to honor themselves so that they don't suffer from imposter syndrome or feelings of being less than, or they don't get swept along like a leaf in the wind. It's about having ourselves grounded and rooted, and actually putting down the roots where we want to put them. Where is that place that makes you light up? What is that activity that makes you light up? And yeah, we've all been through a lot of shit in our lives. Some people have, lived through civil war. Some people have been through abuse and trauma. Some people have, lost their whole families. Some people have had disabilities or ill health from all their life. And we could go through life going, well, it happened to me, but we're making ourselves a victim. And it's never any good to be a victim, because when you're a victim, you keep becoming a victim. And you attract things that make you a victim. So when we embrace the fact, well, it happened for me, this is where we get to learn about what our pain or what our upset or our trauma or our situation has taught us. The resilience, the fire, it's taught us the lessons that we've needed to learn. Now, those of you who believe in soul contracts, you will know that when we signed a soul contract from a previous life that we would come here and we would teach or we would learn. Those of you that believe in that, you'll know that these things didn't happen for us either. They're happening through us. So, for example, when things happen, it's like, okay, this is what's happening. Okay, I'm learning this. Okay, now how can I give it back? How can I alchemize what I've been through so that other people can either avoid what I've been through, stop doing what I went through or was going through, and actually become a better person so that we can all heal each other, because we are all connected. You are me, I am you, and vice versa. It keeps going round. What the way in which I behave to somebody else will get passed on. And one of the things my grandfather always used to say is, if you can smile, if you can make someone smile during the day, then it's worth waking up. Absolutely. I love to make myself smile every day. I love to see other people smiling. And even if I'm not in that moment of wanting to smile, it's like, good morning. Yeah, even if it's just a good morning. Or how are you? And if someone says, actually, I'm not that great, I'm like, oh, really? Why? What's the matter? Should we go get coffee? Because sometimes people just need someone to know that they're listening. it's not that I'm going to buy everybody a coffee, don't worry. But again, just giving someone a few moments of your time, and actually when we ask how are you, actually being interested in how are you. Because it might be the difference between life and death, asking that question with sincerity. Well, not sincerity, that's sincerity is not a good word. I don't know why we use it. It's a very shallow, it's like, yeah, I'm sincere, don't really care, but I'm sincerely asking you. Look at the root word of it, it's not very good. But again, making sure that when we're actually communicating with people, we're communicating with them on a deeper level. Because when we start to heal and we start to really talk about what we're healing, or we just start demonstrating just through our daily actions and the way we talk about ourselves, this starts to have a knock-on effect. And we start to notice, or we'll start to realize, that there are people looking up to us. And then we start to become this leader. And sometimes we're like, oh, I'm not a leader. Um, why would people think I'm a leader? And you have to get your head around that. And then you have to understand that, even if you're a leader of one, you're still a leader. You're leading yourself every single day. You are the leader of your inner child. And when you start to unravel what it is your inner child wants, and understand what it is your inner child needed, or the younger version of yourself needed, uh, and you start to do this deep work, and you look at, okay, well, what do I really truly believe about the world? Not what I've been told, but what do I truly believe about the world? Why do I believe that? Where did that come from? Is that mine? No. Return to sender. Is that mine? Yes. Okay. Why do I think that? What knowledge or evidence do I have, or experience do I have that has me believe that? Okay, what are my values? Am I someone who values loyalty and respect and honesty? Or am I someone who values kindness, generosity, and laughter? Am I somebody who values it could be anything. I mean, we could keep going all day, but where is your moral compass? What formed your moral compass? Did you grow up in a household that was very judgmental? Did you grow up in a household that was very generous? Did you grow up in a household that was very quiet and very insular and very much a very private, tight-knit family? Or did you grow up in a household where, your home was that safe space for all your friends, and your parents were, the auntie and uncle to all of your friends, and they could just come to your home and just be? Or was none of your friends allowed to come to your home? Again, all of these things shape who we are, and we can change our morals, we can change our beliefs and our values. We just really have to choose to do that. And it can be painful because sometimes we discover things about ourselves that our brain has prevented us from knowing. Or, for example, um, this is in Friday Bridge, but um, when I found a lump in my right, can't remember which one it was, my right breast, I think it was. When I found a lump in my right breast, and I went to have surgery to have it removed, what happened was when I'd had my youngest son, Nasser, many years before, um, I don't remember much. I was very sick. You'll read about that in the book. And I was talking about, the system of like the healthcare system and how um, I was very, very sick, and I didn't have any memories of my youngest son being born. But when I went into hospital to have that lump removed from my breast, and I was in that environment, and I could smell the same smells, and they'd got this green tent over me where they did the operation, all of the memories of my youngest son being born came cascading down into my mind. And again, it's like when we get triggered by a painful memory gets triggered, or a happy memory gets triggered that was associated with pain or trauma, from a smell or a song or a taste, or being in a place that you remember but you don't remember. When these things happen, an alchemy starts to go on within us, and we can find our strength and our purpose, or we can just allow ourselves to crumble and be beaten. Now, it might be that we allow ourselves to crumble to then stand in our strength. And I always say that, when we go through something negative, we get the opportunity to turn that and alchemize that into something positive, turning our pain into our power. Because sitting in the pain is only going to fill our body with dis-ease. It's going to fill our bodies with pains and aches and health problems. Um, and this is why, you see some people, they get throat cancer. They've never smoked a cigarette in their life, but they've actually never spoken their truth either. So the throat cancer is is a symbol of them holding on to their truth, and never expressing who they truly are. Um, and I've just noticed that I've got a thank you here. I think I know why that is. Um, yeah, I do, because I was writing the Ho'oponopono. Again, it's like when like I said before, when we use this language of "it happened to me," we're making ourselves a victim. When someone says to us, "How are you?" and you go, "Oh, not too bad." But if you're not too bad, are you not good? Why are you focusing on the too bad? Again, it's these two words that will stick in your head. And when we say, don't forget to, what your brain registers is forget to, and then do it, which is one of the reasons why I always sign my emails off positively. Remember to. Like if I need my son to bring something home, I was like, oh, will you remember to bring this back with you? Again, it's the way we form our words and the instructions that we put into our subconscious. And if we believe that we are attracting greatness and we are successful, and we take aligned action to that, the words that we're using empower us to take the aligned action to create, and us showing up and creating all of this content and being here to serve you. I don't know how many of you are watching this. I don't know how this is landing with any of you. Some of you are contacting me, some of you are not. Some of you are a bit intimidated to contact me. Some of you are not. You're like, well, she's just talking rubbish. Well, that's okay. To you, I might be, but to others, what I'm sharing is groundbreaking. We're all at different places. And again, I am choosing myself. I'm choosing to show up for me, to help me achieve the things that I want to achieve. And I'm embodying that person. And there are some people that will stop not allow themselves to do this. So, for example, another personal example of when I was 18, I chose to wear a skirt. One night when I worked behind the bar in a city pub that I was working in. And this guy I don't know, never seen him before, never saw him again. He was completely drunk. He goes, "You've got the worst legs ever." Little did I know that this guy fancied me. Why did they do that? But he liked my legs. But one of the ways to get my attention was to tell me that I'd got the worst legs ever. I didn't wear skirts or shorts for years. For nearly 18 years, I didn't wear shorts and skirts. Again, I wore jeans and combats and leggings because some random stranger had said something to me and I'd allowed him. And I call it, don't let squatters live in your head rent free. I'd allowed him to live in my head rent free all that time. Oh my God, why would we do that? So again, choose what you know about yourself. My legs are not the worst legs in the world. I know that. And even if they were, they're my legs and they have carried me through 47 years worth of life. They've helped me swim. They've helped me travel the world. They've helped me sail. They've helped me push my children in their pushchairs and run around after them and create laughter. I love my legs. They've helped me achieve so much. And what is it that you can choose to love about yourself? And this is why I put the Ho'oponopono. I do struggle with that, as you can tell. Sometimes I get it right first off, sometimes I don't. But it's like, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Because we can apologize to ourselves. And we can ask ourselves to forgive ourselves. And we can thank ourselves for the lessons that we've learned and then say, I love you. Now, this has come from, like it says, a Hawaiian practice of reconciliation between different people, like different relationships, like parents and lovers and, siblings and parents and children. But now we're seeing it being used a lot more in the self-healing industry. And again, we're all going to make mistakes or what are perceived to be mistakes. We're all going to fail at something because we haven't got the tools that we needed to be able to deal with those situations. So can we apologize to ourselves for making ourselves wrong? Can we say, can you forgive yourself for making yourself or your younger version of self wrong? Can you thank your older version of self, of the one okay, so let's just say that you did something wrong when you were about 8 years old, and then at 11 you learned why that was wrong. Can you thank that 11-year-old version of yourself for being hard on yourself at 8 years old and just tell you all versions of yourself that you love you? Because that is so important, because at each different age and each different week and day and year of our lives, we are learning constantly. And so the mistakes that we think we've made, they weren't mistakes. We just didn't have the tools or the knowledge or the experience to deliver or achieve a certain thing. And we can achieve it now. Or maybe, I mean, I'm never going to be a ballerina, never was, but still, am I going to be someone who races around the world on a Volvo ocean race? No, I'm past that. I would love to have done it a few years ago, but I'm really past that. I like my creature comforts a bit too much now. But again, am I still going to sail around the world again? Absolutely, I am. You try and stop me. I'm already lining up opportunities. But again, like the mistakes I've made on sailboats, well, I was learning. I was new to that kind of sailboat. Can I forgive myself? Absolutely, I can. Do I love myself? Yes. And again, it's like when we talk about all of these, we can talk about it with talk therapy, or we can just think it. But when we write it, we're actually, I mean, I prefer to write with a pencil, and I write and it's like I'm purging it out. It's almost like it's coming out of me, and it's using the pencil as a conduit to go onto the paper. And then once I finish writing it on the paper, I then go and burn it. I do an alchemy ritual. And that's one of another reasons why I don't know if I'm going to stay in Britain, because we can't have fires on the beaches here. I mean, really, seriously, what's going on with that? Anyway, so like I said, write a letter to your inner child and meditate with them. Ask your inner child, what do you need? What did you need to hear? What did you want when that happened? Um, and say it to your inner child, write it to your inner child. Let them know that everything's going to be okay, that they're safe with you, that you've got them. And that things have worked out okay, and they're going to get even better. And I'd really encourage you to list 5 things that you love about yourself daily. 5 new things every single day. Because when you start to make a list of all the things that you love about yourself, you start to change the way you see yourself. So I started off with going, I love my hair. I love my dirty giggle. I love the fact that I drink tea. They were the easy ones. This is where we can start. I love that I'm kind. I love that I cry when dogs get hurt in movies. I love that I cry. I cry a lot. My eldest son sent me a picture of him and his brother. They're visiting. And just seeing them together, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And I started crying, and I cry when the young lady Jasmine won the Bake Off, because she so deserved it. I was so happy, and again, it's like I love that about myself, that I feel this emotion and this joy. I also love the fact that I don't like it when horses get hurt in movies, and I do cry at that as well. Um, so again, but I love the fact that I will go in the kitchen and I can make up any dish that I like. I like the fact that I speak my mind. I like the fact that, I write the kind of books that I write to help other people. I like the fact that I am a daredevil and I'll go off on a mad adventure. And I really love the fact about myself that, I've learnt to love my body. It might be bigger than I'm used to. It's smaller than it was when I was pregnant. And if I can lose the baby weight, I can lose these extra kilos. That's okay. I love the fact that I love swimming, and I can sit in a sauna for God knows how, maybe an hour, 2 hours at a time, with little breaks in the plunge pool. And I love the fact that I'm very, very loyal to people. And I love the fact that I will say to your face what I'm thinking, and I before saying it to somebody else. And if I say it, and if I, and this is the thing, I am direct and I am honest, and I do come with the trigger warning. But I love that about myself. So I want you to really start diving into what are the 5 things, 5 new things every day that you love about yourself, because then you start to change the narrative, and then you can start really being who you are. And now we're at the end, so thank you for being here. Remember, if it's not yours, return it to sender. It's junk mail. It does not, like the junk emails. Those of us who used to get snail mail, it's junk email. Return to sender. It's not yours. Honor yourself always, and your journey, because it's your journey. Nobody else is walking it for you. Nobody else can. Date yourself. Spend time by yourself. And remember, your soul always knows what's right for you, because you signed a soul contract to be here. And this lifestyle and lifetime that you're living, yeah, it was predestined. So soul always knows. Follow your inner GPS. And as I always say to my children, your ideas and your voice matter, so use them. So that's that part of today over with. Um, Oh, I've just stopped sharing. I might have to start sharing again. Hang on. I did the wrong thing. Um, Hang on 1 second. Da, da, da. I need to go back to this and share that again. You see, you'd think after all of these years doing presentations, I'd have all this figured out by now. So if you would like to book a session with me for a narrative coaching inquiry, then please do. These are some of the dates. You've got 3 tomorrow. What we got on Monday? Oh, you've got one in the morning, one at lunchtime, one in the afternoon on Monday. We've got a couple on Tuesday next week. So this link will be in the comments. Ty is going to make it all the magic happen, because without Tyee, I do struggle. She's wonderful. So do get yourself booked into one of those. And remember, this is the book that inspired this series. So if you haven't already purchased it, make sure you do. Write a review as well. Send me a message what you thought of it. And this is going to be the next book that we talk about. This is A Relentless Rebel Duology. But yes, this is all about my life in Egypt. Dun, dun. Taking on the system and exposing government corruption. Woohoo! Looking forward to that one. So if you haven't purchased those two books yet, please do. Make sure that when you've read them that you send me a review, and would love to see you showing up here on these Zoom calls. And I think I've just stopped sharing again. I don't know what I've just done, but there we go. Oh yeah. Anyway, that's what it is. Ty is probably laughing at me, and that's okay. I don't mind. And those of you who are watching this, you're probably laughing at me as well, and that's okay, because I don't mind. It's always good to have a giggle, a bit of giggle therapy every day. So if you want to book a session with me, please do, and go buy my books. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you on the next session, week 16. Take care for now. Bye bye.